Welcome to Fiber Focus, the podcast where we dive into the world of fiber optics and all things connectivity. I'm your host, Meredith Neely, here with Josh Seawell, the Director of Product Line Management for Sumitomo Electric Lightwave. And today we're going to be talking about unique to you and what that really means when SEL talks about designing products and solutions that are specific for a customer request.
Right.
So our portfolio is extensive, right? It's like an array of leading edge products and solutions, but there are going to be times where the customer needs something that can't be addressed by the typical product lines. And, how does SEL handle that?
Yeah. Thanks again, Meredith, for having me here. I'm glad to be back. But yeah, that's a very good question because, we've got a lot of products out there, but in the world that we're living in now and how fast things are advancing with fiber deployments and the technology that's out there, it's not uncommon for a customer to encounter a situation where they're looking at our portfolio or maybe at various portfolios and I'm not seeing a solution that exactly fits what I'm looking for. And is there something that you can do for us? And so at Sumitomo, we're more than happy to work with those types of customers and collaborate with them directly. So one example is we had a customer come to us. This one actually goes a few years back, but they were building their network out. And the type of customer that this is and the industry that they're in is one they support. They have a requirement to provide services where there's equal offering for their various clients. So they need to make sure that in their fiber network, as far as transmission speeds, that from one client to another, that things are the same, that things are equal. And then so this situation, they're saying, okay, we're building this network, but we need to have like an attenuator. We need to basically slow down our signal that's arriving at this demarcation point so that it's not getting there too fast. And so they needed what we call a network extender. Those are not new. There's various network extender products out there, but what they were looking for was something that was unique. They wanted a network extender with 864 fibers. So you can find a panel that has network extenders maybe for a couple of fibers, maybe up to 12, even 24 fibers, but 864 fibers at thousands of feet per fiber, that's different. So in that situation, we had to design a special faceplate. It was like a 10 RU faceplate. And behind that, we had to work out this mounting mechanism to hold actual bobbins of freeform ribbon behind the faceplate that were then pre-terminated to MPOs with the fibers and to give them the length of fiber that they needed to add that extension. So that one went really well. That was a true one-off. But yeah, that's one of the examples that comes to mind.
Oh, that's very cool. That's a great story and good example of meeting the customer where they are and making sure they have what they need to get the job done.
Yep.
You said one-off. So was that one example? Do you have another?
Yeah. We've definitely got some other examples. Another one that comes to mind is a little bit different. It was in the transit space. And they were up in one of our metropolitan areas. They were building out their facility or they're building this new network through their subway system. And they came to us and are like, we need a special enclosure that can meet the environment that we're working in here, but we need a higher fiber count for the number of terminations that we're doing. And we're not seeing anything that's out there. We know that you guys do pre-terminated panels and pre-terminated wall mount boxes, but can you do NEMA rated pre-terminated box? And that was a bit of a challenge because it was a IP66, which I think is like a NEMA 4X. So that took quite a doing to be able to pull that off. But we sent it to our design team. They did an excellent job coming up, 3D modeling and stuff. And along the way, we're sharing this information with the customer. So it isn't like this, okay, go back to your drawing room, figure out something and come out. Here's the product. We're involving the customer along the way. And it's like, hey, here's the drawing of this product. Even like the last one, I remember having a meeting with that customer. Is like, this is what we're thinking. Here's how the rack is. Here's how the bobbins would sit. And then give us that feedback along the way. And we're making refinements and tweaks to the product before we ever get to the finished solution. And so the same thing here. So we were sharing CAD drawings with them. Hey, this is what it would look like. Is this the right size? Are the mounting locations correct? Are the entry locations where you want them to be? And then they're giving us feedback and we're tweaking it. We even did prototyping of this particular product before it went out, and became what they started buying on a regular basis. So that one was a little bit more than a one-off because it is something that in that project, and that project is continuing on, that we're getting, residual sales, at least from that customer for that specific product.
So it's a true collaboration. It's not prescriptive where the manufacturer is going to the customer and saying, this is what you need, or where their customer needs to come to us and say,
exactly,
build this for me, please, but like solving it together, right?
Exactly.
That's so cool.
Exactly.
All right. So I'm curious what happens with those products after you collaborate and, create something new.
Right. Yeah. So like the first example, that was a truly one-off. That customer hasn't purchased anymore. We haven't had any other customers that purchase anything specific to that. But we've had other products and things that we've collaborated on with this particular customer that has kind of led to a whole lot more. One example is we did a project, this goes a few years back too, with a hyperscaler. They were installing 3456, and 3456 fiber count cable don't sound like nothing right now because everyone's used to it. But this, go back to 2015, 2016, it's like 3456 fibers in a cable. It's like, holy cow, So they were installing this cable and they were bringing it into their facility. And they're like, what do we put that in? There's nothing out there. And it's like, we're not just bringing in one. We're bringing in like 10 of these. So what can we put these in? And so we collaborated with that hyperscaler. And again, we were all along the way. Here's drawings, here's designs, here's a prototype of the tray and things like that. And so we come up with a solution. It's a giant entrance frame is basically what it was. It's a big old cabinet. And then it had splice trays in the middle. And so they deployed that at a couple locations. And we got to go on site and see how the deployments look, took some pictures of it installed. And even from there, we're like, okay, that's solving the problem. But we learned a lot after seeing the contractors actually working with it. And then we went to like a Gen 2 of that, made it a whole lot better. And that customer still purchases those today. And actually, so that particular product, we started taking it to trade shows and showing it because we're like, okay, I think we got something that's beyond just what they need. Because sometimes you'll get a customer come to you and they're kind of like a pioneer customer themselves, right? They're out there where no one's been before, What they're facing it might be unique to them today, but other people are coming behind them. They're going to be at the same spot and they're going to have the same need, the same requirements, either months, it might even be a couple of years, but eventually their competition is going to catch up and they're going to have the same type of need. So we started taking this thing to trade shows and it was quite the feat to get that thing in there because it's massive. But customers started coming by. It's like, oh, I love this. The splice tray would hold 864 fibers in a tray. There was no tray that had ever been out there. The highest fiber count tray that I think existed at that time was maybe a 288. A lot of them were probably like even 144 or smaller. But this thing was 864 fibers in one tray. And there was like a bunch of them. This cabinet could hold over 40,000 fibers into that one cabinet. And so these customers started coming by. They're like, man, I love this, but I am never going to install 40,000 fibers. It's like, holy cow, do you have something a little bit smaller? So then we came up with a quarter size of it. And the first one was like just a scaled down version. We basically took this giant cabinet like that and just like shrunk it down like this, but it was like super wide. So that didn't quite work out. But from there, we're like, okay, let's make a couple of tweaks. And then we came out with a version that did work. And a lot of customers have bought. We call it our 10K VHSX. And then from there, customers were looking at that like, hey, this is great, but can you make it even more, even smaller? Because I'm not installing 3 3456s. I'm just bringing in like one. So then we made one even smaller than that. So we have a 3K VHSX, a 10K VHSX. We have the big UHSX that is over 40,000 fibers. So now we got this whole product family of entrance frames that is still going today. And every size, we have customers that are purchasing that. So that's a great example where a customer comes in, we collaborate with them, but it evolves into something much bigger and that is relevant to more customers than just that one. We definitely love those opportunities. But sometimes we do the one-offs and that's fine as well. But yeah, but we do prefer the ones where it leads on to other things.
Sure. And it's just in service of the industry, right?
Yeah.
Like these collaborations it's networks are evolving, but then the portfolio is evolving too, along with these customer needs, and
Right.
what you build for one customer can be leveraged elsewhere. And it's so great. I'm really, really impressed with all of that. So if somebody thinks they have a request that is not going to be met by the existing portfolio, and it's like a moment in time, right? Like the portfolio that exists right now is not what it's going to look like 5 years from now. And they think that their project, needs something that's a little more like leading edge, or, a little like, next gen. How do they engage with Sumitomo Electric Lightwave to get that conversation started?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's many ways actually to get a hold of us. Obviously, there's our website. There's contact information there. We have our unique to you page on our website, and there's information they can start with there. But even, more personal than that is start with our sales organization. You have one of our sales members are in front of you, most likely, or if you encounter us at a trade show and you encounter some of our folks there, start there. But we get a lot of these requests that start with our sales team. The customer, our salesman is in there checking up on our customers, making sure that everything's going good, that they're getting what they need. And then they'll bring in, hey, well, I've been doing this, but I'm thinking about doing this. And it'll start there. And so that's a great way to start with us. And then they'll get it into our product management team. And from there, then it goes out to the various people, depending on what it is. But yeah, so website, reach out to your salesperson. And yeah, we love these opportunities. So bring them to us.
Yeah, and then come to the trade shows too.
Yeah,
like you
come
said,
to trade shows is a great place to have those types of conversations and kind of get those things going as well.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Josh, for meeting with us today.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, and talking with our audience. Thank you for joining us on Fiber Focus. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Share this content with your colleagues if you found it helpful. Come see us at a trade show. We will put links to some of the resources that Josh mentioned today in the show notes. And we'll catch you next time. Thank you.